get something a little bit different. Here's Ken Fleurlage. He's got a really nice color wheel out there. But again, that's we really see our colors red, green, and blue, not red, blue, and yellow. And so again, we've got to kind of refocus that and realize that it's cones and rods in our eyes, and that probably almost no one has 100% color vision, and only a few of us have 0% color vision, and most of you are somewhere in the middle. And so if you make it so that it's easy for me, who has none of these rods and cones, but I can tell the difference between your colors, if you make them very distinct, it will also make it easier for everybody else. So I'm sure some of you have a weak spot, or somewhere, this is blue, no, it's purple. This is green, well, actually, it looks more brown to me. This is green, it looks more gray. And that's just because it's not on or off. You do have a little bit of color blindness, but not a lot. So let's take a test. Let's see. So again, this is where if I come to your internal tug, or we do a smaller setting, you could actually shout these out. But again, can you see these colors? And I'm going to manipulate these plates a little bit to make it harder or easier, depending on whether you have a weakness there or don't have a weakness there. But the panels are all going to be the same here. So hopefully most of you can see those colors. But again, I'm going to make it so none of you can see the colors eventually, so you can see what it's like to be in my world. So there's your set of palettes. There's what you should be seeing if you've got good vision. So 6, 3, 5, 9, 5, 8, 5, 9, 10. So again, can you see those? Now that I told you, it's probably a lot easier. If you struggle at all, you probably have some color blindness. So again, I can play with them, and I can take, in this case, I'm taking a lot of the green out. So can you still see those? Can you still see the 6, 3, 9? Can you see the middle row? Can you see the bottom row? Are you seeing those numbers? Now let me emphasize the green quite a bit and take the red out. Are you struggling a little bit? Is it a little bit harder to see those same numbers? Are you struggling to see them? Is it easier? Here I've taken the green out. All we have is the red cones and the blue, trying to see what these colors are. So this is what it would look like if we can't see green. And here is where I've just taken a little bit of green. Mostly it's red in there. Same numbers, same panels, same idea, but again, allowing you to see that everybody kind of has a little bit different vision, and everybody can see just a little bit differently. And so if we try and help out, like me, who can't see anything, we'll be better off. So when my kids were little, we gave them these tests because they didn't know their letters or numbers yet. And we asked them, what can you see? So hopefully you all can see what's in this one. Here's another one. Again, if some of these are a little bit hard to see, you have a little bit of color blindness because I'm manipulating and playing. And here I've taken all the color out. And so you can see what it's like in my world. No color, just all shades of gray. But I think you can all pretty much see the sun there. And so then I have this last one here. No cheating. Didn't tell you what's there. Can you all see the number in this one? Or are you having a little bit of trouble seeing the number in this one? Hopefully you're having a little bit of trouble seeing this one. Kind of proves my point that we're all a little bit colorblind, but actually I'm just tricking you. There is no number in there. But welcome to my world. This is what those things look like until I learn how to see my colors, until I get them down pat. So here's what it's like if you can't see red. Imagine if you don't have any red cones and rods in your eye. You can't see red, but see, again, it's not like, oh, the steak is not there. No, I see it. It's just, it's not red. It's a different color because I cannot see red the way everybody else sees red. So if I am my mom loves her steak rare, or no, my dad likes his steak rare. My mom likes it rare. My dad likes it well done. Which one is the well done? Because 3 of them are rare. There's a lot more red in three of them. And one of them is well done, and that's the one that my dad wants. But again, if they were colorblind like I was, they would struggle to find that the well done is in the bottom right, and the other three are rare. So the bottom right is for my dad, and the other three were for my mom, who liked them rare. So again, this is what it's like. How about this one? You're a scientist, you're working in the lab, and they say, hand me the pink liquid. Can you see the pink liquid? Which one of these is the pink liquid? Is it one? Is it two? Is it three? Is it four? And again, I run these tests with my students to see, can they pick it up? Can they see without having the red there? Can they see the pink? Then they probably have some color blindness, because it's number one is the pink liquid. Again, if you think two is the pink liquid, then you might have a little less red cones than everyone else. If you think that three was the pink liquid, then you've got some trouble with your green cones and rods in your eye. Here's one of my favorite home improvement stores, and they just love their orange and they plaster it all over their website. Well, look what it looks like to folks who can't see red. So you've got this brand and you want to splash this brand everywhere, but for a percentage of the population out there, it doesn't look the way it does to everybody else. So you want to stop and think about, what is my brand? Is everybody going to be able to see that brand? And if they can only see red or they can't see green, then that brand is going to look a little different. And so there are some things that we can do to help that. I'm a big sports guy. I love sports analogies. I love to watch sports on TV, but look what they do. Here's the Fox channel doing a spray chart and showing where the batter is most likely to hit the ball. And so in baseball, they do shifts and all kinds of crazy stuff to try and stop somebody from hitting that ball and getting it out of the infield. But again, for those of us that are colorblind, using this red and this yellow and this light green and this darker green on top of a green and brown field underneath it, this is just a nightmare to those of us that are colorblind. And it's also tough for those of you that have a little bit of color blindness. Again, and then look at, here's what it looks like for me, all in grays. Very hard. I can't tell the difference between that 9% and that 12% over there. Looks the exact same color. They're too close together. We need to move those colors apart from each other so that everybody can see them clearly. Go to the office store and here's all the crayons, all the pens, all the paints, all of these things. And again, to me, this is what it looks like. There's not that many colors. Most people see, oh, look at all these colors. Let's use all these colors. Well, not all of us see all those colors. So let's try and keep it simple. Here's our Tableau slide deck we were given. Hey, everybody use this slide deck. Choose from all these great colors. Well, out of all of these, the yellow one is the best one for those of us who are colorblind. As you can see, those yellow colors are pretty easy to tell apart. Some of the other patterns that they threw out there were not quite as good. And so I wanted to use their yellow template all the way through, and they wanted us to mix it up, use all kinds of colors. Well, again, we don't all really see those colors the same. And so, again, when you go into Tableau, you can play with the palettes, you can play with the colors, you can do some awesome things inside of Tableau. And I just want to warn you today, be careful, because for many of you, you see all of these colors, but if I can't see green, which is common, this is what that palette looks like then to those who can't see green. So again, we see green, it's just the green is actually more brown to us than it is to everyone else. We just see things a little bit differently. And so you want to take that into effect. At TC, I wore my really colorful, wild-looking map shirt that Kent Martin, ex-Tableau, we got these for a TC 19, I think it was, 18 maybe. But I don't wear it very often because most people are like, wow, that's really bright and lots of colors in there, Doc. Well, again, over on the right, that's what it looks like to me. It's not quite as wild. Seems okay. But again, I know that for some of you, it looks different. So here again, on the far side, we've got normal vision. You see all those colors. If I can't see green, look what happens. Red is not as good if I have trouble seeing green. If I can't see red, the next one, green has some trouble, even though it's red that I can't see. And then if I can't see blue, then I've got a different vision of what things are. And again, my theory is everybody has a little bit of this. Everybody has a little bit of color blindness. And so we want to use some good practices to help those people that are colorblind and not mess things up too much for folks that have normal vision. So Kelly Martin was awesome. I don't know if any of you got a chance to meet Kelly. She was a really awesome one of the one of the original Tableau Zen masters, as we called them back in the day. Kelly's Tableau public page is still out there. I would encourage you all to go look at Kelly's page. She's got some really great examples out there, and she has a really nice tutorial for creating color palettes. So again, I'm not going to walk you through that, but I'll point you here and say, go to Kelly. Even though it was what, Tableau 9 maybe back then, maybe 10, that she made this for, it still pretty much applies. It's still the same basic format. You can make your own palettes, and I would encourage you to make your own palettes. Here was a good website that I saw when I was putting this together about 5-10 years ago. And they've just got some simple guidelines. So again, why should I bother? Because it affects all of us, not just a few. So again, keep it minimal. There's no reason why you need to have, I mean, 10 colors. The Tableau palette says here are 10 colors. 10 colors is not going to work. It's never going to work. It's too many colors. You got to keep it minimal. Minimal colors. It will still get your point across. Second point, use something besides the color to point things out. So if you got to use yellow, green, and red, and it's important to use those colors, put a pattern on them, because then that will help cue us that, yeah, here's the pattern. That's green, that's yellow, that's red, even though I'm having a little bit of trouble seeing them. By putting the pattern on there, it works better. Oh, Tableau doesn't have a default way to put patterns on there. There are tricks and ways to do that. Again, we could delve into that if we had more time. But Tableau, if you're listening, put patterns on our palette to help us. Make it accessible for everybody. Color contrast and hues. I could do a whole presentation just on color contrast and using contrasting colors and why we have trouble. And again, bad color combinations. Everybody jumps to red and green. Red and green is actually not the worst. The worst is actually blue and purple, because that's the default in web browsers. If you bring up a web page and it has a bunch of links, they're blue if you haven't visited them. Click on and visit, come back, and it's purple. For those of us that are colorblind or marginally colorblind, lots of times we can't tell the difference. Yet that's an industry standard to use a bad color combination. So green and red is not the only one. In fact, green and red is not the worst. It's not the top of my list. I would flip this list around and say, don't use that blue and purple. Quit using green and blue next to each other. Quit using green and black. Lots of folks like to use green and black. Doesn't work very well. Black is just the absence of green, and they're really pretty close together in your eyes. So again, just some basic feedback. Don't rely just on color to convey that message. Please limit your colors, 2 or 3 colors. Don't use that 10 color palette. Again, I could do this with every vendor, but this is a Tableau user group. So here are the Tableau palettes. And boy, for a while here, I think we kind of moved away, but for a while, everybody loved the pastel palettes. And all of these pastel palettes were being used on vises all over the place for a while. Well, you know what pastel is? Pastel is lack of color. Take your pink and take a lot of the red out of the pink, and we get that light pink. It's harder for everybody to see. It's easier for everybody to see when you put more color in. So going to that pastel palette, not good for those of us that are colorblind. But again, 10 colors is too much. Look what it looks like for me. All of those palettes, too many of those colors are too close together. I could probably pick 3 colors out of each of those palettes and they'll work good. But how do you know unless you're colorblind that you're picking the right 3 and you're not picking the wrong 3? Again, Tableau has a colorblind 10 palette. There it is on the top right, along with that infamous traffic light palette that everybody tells you to not use. Well, look what happens when I have trouble seeing green. That colorblind that colorblind palette actually doesn't work for more than about 2 or 3 of those colors. Several of those colors are way too close together that they're not helping folks that are colorblind, and especially not folks like me who don't see color at all. That colorblind palette does not work. It works for folks that have marginal color blindness, but for those of us who have a lot of color blindness, it does not work at all. So don't use red and green. That's wrong. Red and green is actually okay. The NFL went to these, again, I love sports examples. The NFL went to Thursday night games and they decided to have these color rush uniforms. And one night, Buffalo was playing the Jets and it was red and green. And oh, Twitter and social media just erupted. Oh, this has got to be unwatchable for folks that are colorblind. They just can't see red and green. And again, they even came out with these little figures. My kids and I collected them, these great color rush jerseys. But again, it's not that red and green, oh, we can't see them. Oh, we can't see what's going on in the game. No, that's not what's happening. They even made a video up and they made it look like, oh, you can't see it. His legs are disappearing into the field and can't see stuff because they're colorblind. No, here's what will happen. If you can't see red, I can still see that that's Buffalo in the red and that's New York in the green. They're not the same as what you see if you're not colorblind, but I can see the difference. I can teach myself the red and green. Here's if I'm blue colorblind, I have no blue rods or cones in my eyes. I could still see that those are red and green. I just have to teach myself. Even I, who am totally colorblind, I can see that that's red and that's green. In fact, I'm old enough to remember when a lot of stuff on television was black and white. And I used to say, oh, it's the guy in the Navy jacket. He's the one who committed the crime. And everybody would laugh because it's in black and white. But I can see that that's a Navy jacket. So here's red and green. If I use red and green and I separate it and I don't have them right next to each other and they've got good contrast, then for folks who can't see green, they can still see what you're trying to show them because again, I don't have 10 colors there. I've got 3. I'm keeping it to a minimum and I'm keeping them so that they work good. Here's a electoral map of the United States and people were using red and green. And so experts said, no, 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 this is bad for the folks that are colorblind. They can't see red and green. Well, again, I'm weak with green. I can still see the red and green. I can tell the red and green and I can see them apart. I can't see red. I can still see a red and a green. They're different than what you see if you don't have much color blindness. There's the red, there's the green, but I have trouble seeing green. I can still see red and green. I have trouble seeing red. I can still see green and red. This map was really not too bad. And even for me, totally colorblind, I can see the red and the green. Red and green is not too bad when kept to a minimum. But Tableau and lots of experts say, oh, use the blue and orange. Again, it's on my jersey. Use the blue and orange. Blue and orange works really well. This will be solving it, and this will help the colorblind folks. Well, there I am. Did that blue and orange solve things for the colorblind? No, this is worse than using red and green. So it's not don't use red and green. It's don't use colors that are too close together. So here's a color palette that actually works pretty well. Again, for those of you who see color really well, you maybe don't like this one that much, a black, a red, a light blue, a bluish green. But again, it tests really well for those of us who are colorblind. So it's not that great for folks that do see things more accurately. But again, if we have folks that have trouble seeing colors, we can use red, yellow, and green. Just put different patterns on there and it will work. Increase that legend size so we can see the pattern very clearly and match that, then it will help us. Don't rely on complementary colors. And we love to do this in maps. We use these complementary colors and it's too much. Use colors that are opposites across the color spectrum, and it's easier for everybody to see. Maybe it's not as pretty to those of you who see all those colors really well, but for those of us who don't, it works quite well. Here's Zach Bowders. Zach created this one, and he thought, oh no, Doc's going to make fun of it because I got all these colors on there. But he pulls them out and says, hey, here's red over here, and here's yellow over here. And he highlights them, he limits the other, he gets you to focus on a color. That works well. Try and get me to focus on way too many colors, and it's not helpful. So again, the tools that I've been using to create this presentation, I'll drop them in the chat. But TopTal is really nice. It allows you to load a website and see what the website looks like to different types of colorblind folks. So you can play with your palette and see what it looks like. Here you can grab an image, so you can grab a screenshot, or you can grab your chart that you want to display, show it in black and white, and say, okay, I want everybody to focus on that red crayon. Which one is a red crayon? If I'm colorblind, it's not that easy for me to see. So make it easier for me to see with mouse overs, tool tips, whatever. Do something to make it work better. So the Cobless tool and TopTal are my two go-to tools to really show folks. Lots of folks like Color Brewer. Again, we love these for choropleth maps. And they like to use a 10 color palette, and 10 colors is too many. Like in this example, use 3, pull it from the 2 ends and the middle, and it will work okay for those of us who are colorblind, and it's okay for those of you who are not colorblind or don't have as much color blindness as I do. But if we keep it minimal, it works quite well. Adobe has another tool that's interactive. It works really well, and I'll dump out here in a second so we can take a look at it. But again, when you're creating a data viz, you've got numbers, you've got letters, you've got shapes, you've got colors, you're using math or finance and language, you're trying to put it in context, you're trying to get people to see what it is. And if right off the bat, your color choices make it hard, you make it hard for everybody, and you make everything else that you're trying to convey that much harder. So start with those colors. Oh, and I gave a tease before TC that I was going to talk about this. Do you guys remember the dress? Oh, the infamous dress that went viral over the internet, where folks were arguing vehemently, it's black and blue, and other people were saying it's white and gold. And the folks that saw it one way or the other could not understand why the other were seeing it differently. Well, guess what? Everybody that was seeing it white and gold has some color blindness. Those of you who are seeing it more black and blue probably have very little color blindness. But what it really had to do was color contrast. And so those of you who saw it white and gold, there was a lot of light colors around that dress, or it was very bright when you were looking at that dress. And so how you first see it is how you will continue to see it, even if we manipulate the colors. That first impression sticks. And so if there were a lot of light colors around it, you saw white and gold. If it was very dark and there were a lot of dark colors around it, you saw it as blue and black because it was very dark around it. The reality is it was what's in the middle there. It was in the middle, and depending on what was around it, and depending on what color deficiencies you have or don't have, it would lead you to see it one way or the other. So again, I'm on Twitter at Kevin Elder. I'm on LinkedIn at Doc Elder. There's my email at Louisiana Tech. Happy to follow up with folks, uh, and I can answer questions if anybody wants to ask any questions. I'm not sure on my time, but again, you can probably get away with 5 colors. But if you're going to do 5, I'm going to tell you to move some of them in so they're lighter and leave some of them out so they're darker. And if we run that through a colorblind checker, that's going to do much better. But if you sit here and you pull them all from one part of our wheel here, yeah, that looks cool to those of you who see colors. For those of us that are colorblind, you're making our life a nightmare. Stop doing it. So spread them around, keep them minimal. 3 is the best because you have 3 cones or 3 rods in your eyes. Make it easy. Maybe you can get away with 5, no more than that. Stay away from those 10 color palettes, 10 color maps. You're harming us. Please don't do that. How am I doing, guys?
Okay. Yeah.
I think
Great presentation, Doc.
Do you want to do one more question, Prasan? There's like someone just put a new one in there.
Okay. So I'll just take it. So, Doc, we have got one question. Why do you think? What do you think of the Tableau colorblind palette? What if we have more than 5 values for an attribute?
Yeah,
So
again, why do you have that? I work a lot with survey data, and we love to have these 7-point Likert scales and say, oh, they're a 7 and they're a 1. What's the difference between a 7 and a 6 and a 7 and a 5 and a 5 and a 4? It's so nuanced. Most of the stuff you're measuring, it's yes, no, or maybe in the middle, right? I mean, 3. Try and show us 3 things. You try and show us 7 or 10 different things in one chart, one visual, one dashboard, it's overload. It's too much. The psychologist will tell you that. You don't need the color guy to tell you. It's just too much. You're trying to tell us too much. Grab that one color and highlight it, pull it out. Here's what I want you to see. Make it easy for us. Put too many colors on there and it's just way too hard to see. So when I work with survey data, I like to collapse it. So 7 and 6s go together, and 1s and 2s go together, and 3, 4, 5s are in the middle. And I'll show you here the folks that are high. These are the folks that are low. These are the folks in the middle. I'll use 3 colors to highlight that, and it makes it easier to convey to folks. This is what I'm trying to get you to see. Not really color, just simplicity. But color is underneath it all because we all see color and we all see it a little bit differently.
thanks, Doc. There's one more question. Is there a website or app that one can use to submit an image and get an idea of how it would look, or percentage score on whether it is easy to see for colorblind people?
Yeah, the 2 that I was showing, and I'll throw them in the chat, Toptal and Coblis. One allows you to do a URL, and you can see your whole website or page. You can see your Tableau public dashboard and open it up to something and see what it looks like. There are also color contrast tools that will help you look at the color contrast, and that was what I was mentioning there at the end. You got to have red and green. Make it a lighter red and a darker green. That makes it easier by having that contrast. And so there's some contrast checkers, but again, they're really not foolproof. I really like the fact of just let me show it to you in all grades and have you go, whoa, really? That really makes it stand out and gets you to stop and think, are people really going to be able to see this? Even if they have no color blindness, some of those colors are going to go together, especially if you've got a bright background around that monitor. It's going to look different than if it's night. Like I'm sitting here in the evening here, everything's dark in my office upstairs. It's going to look very different than during the day with all kinds of bright color around it because that's how we see. Also, again, as you get older, everybody gets a little colorblind. So guess what? You all get to join my world. The longer you live, the more cones and rods will die in your eye and the more colorblind you'll get. That's why a lot of older people don't like to drive at night because that's the first part of color blindness that happens is at night, you don't have the light. It's hard to see color anyway. and then start losing those rods or cones, and it's hard for older people to see the colors, especially at night. So they don't want to drive at night, which is good. Don't drive at night. Give them a ride. Get in there. Take your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever it is, coworkers. You're younger, do the driving at night. But again, it's going to happen to everybody. But not everybody will be able to see what it's like for me. So every chance I get, I take the opportunity. Here's what it looks like to me, guys. It's tough. Make it easier for me.
Thanks, Doc. I think that's all the questions we have, and thank you so much for answering this in detail and also engaging us. That was really nice. One takeaway for me is that I'm also a bit colorblind, and I don't know whether I'm understanding colors in a different way and building the dashboard, so I have to check now. So thanks for that.
Yep. Very good.
Okay, thank you. So now next we have Lewis Yu. So before I go over to the slide, so I met Lewis at Tableau conference for the first time, and this was our first Tableau conference in person, and we had a great time. And he is like a brother to me now. So okay, now going towards the slide. So he is one of the hosts for Community Challenge Games Night Wiz, together with Will and Tina, as well as leads the Singapore Tug. So I think his video has got frozen, but you can see his T-shirt. So he has got some cool T-shirts that you can also get, and please do because they're just awesome. Also, he is currently working at 2K Games, where he leads the data visualization team globally and builds a lot of dashboards and drive the data culture there. Outside of that, he's just a superhero dad to two lovely and beautiful daughters and a self-taught barista. So I'm not married, but that's a great superpower. Like being a superhero dad can be more than anything. And then we have his presentation, which he also presented at Tableau conference, and that is self-service analytics. It's not just about the data. So Lewis, take it over now.
Thanks, brother. So like Prasad said, I had a very fun time at TC this year. It was my first time there. So having met a lot of the folks that we've been like talking over in Twitter. So I encourage anyone who's thinking of heading to TC next year in San Diego, please do. It's a life-changing experience. Okay, let's get started then. Okay. Alrighty. So here's the opening slide. So thank you for joining this month's Analytics Talk call. I will be sharing the same session that I did in TC on how to drive better self-service analytics for your organization. So just a quick agenda for everyone. I'll be talking through the different stages of data maturity and what's involved to move from one stage to another. After that, I will touch briefly on the Tableau blueprint and how I've seen it being implemented in different organizations. And last but not least, I'll dive into the main topic for today, which is how to enhance the self-service analytics experience for your users through not only just data, but design, delight, and diversify. A quick disclaimer that I had to do at TC is that whatever that I'm sharing today is from my learning gained across my entire data career, and it's not representative of any official views from my current and previous employment. I was forced to say that by my legal team, so just to get it out of the window. So a little about myself before we begin. I've been around various industries like logistics, telco, consumer electronics, manufacturing, but I'm finally at where I want to be, which is video games, which is where my passion lies. However, I'm equally passionate about data viz, which is why I pursued knowledge through a design-focused graduate program, started my own internal Tableau user group in 2K Games, as well as helped co-lead games like this and the Singapore Tug. So I'm very excited to be here to share my knowledge with everyone. So let's get started. If you want to connect with me, here are some links that you can reach out to me. Right. So being data driven is a long, confusing, and expensive process for many companies, but the journey to get there is fairly similar. For a lot of small companies and low tech companies, there's barely any data maturity as they'll be likely working with physical data like paper receipts with their customers and suppliers. While in many business cases, people would shun away to put all your eggs in one basket, you would definitely need to do that in order to start building data competency in any organization. You will need to identify how the data is gathered, stored, and processed, who can access the data, and defining business rules for when data is required. Do you need the customer's name, email address, age, gender if you're running a coffee shop? Or is it sufficient to have just what they ordered and the sales generated? It is also important to consider the feasibility of getting the data periodically. They say the hardest step is the first, and that couldn't be more true for scaling up data operations within an organization, as you need to build processes across different verticals to connect the business. And if you are facing the difficulties, there are many consultancy firms that do end-to-end implementation that you can consider to help overcome this first hurdle. Once you have the data processes in place, you will need to set business rules by defining the KPIs that matter to your business. This would directly lead to the creation of dashboards and reports to monitor performance through the implementation of data visualization tools like Tableau, Power BI, or even Excel. This is the stage where you would see the most resistance, as with any organizational change. In order to ease the transition, there is a need to focus on user-focused design and experiences so that it can create the least path of resistance for your colleagues. Any parents in the crowd except for me? So, like my son said, I have $2, 3, and 5, and they badger me with constant questions every day. From why is broccoli green to where does Mr. Sun go when Mr. Moon appears? I mean, how do you answer those questions that is easily understandable to kids? Which brings me to my next point. In order to build a successful data-driven organization, cultivating that data culture requires elevating literacy and fluency within the organization. And the best way to do that is to encourage a feedback loop through decentralizing data with self-service BI. The feedback loop will help you optimize your data democratization efforts and also assist in cultivating your own internal data champions so that they can help chip in to help move the rest along. The next frontier is about going overdrive with your analytical capabilities through AI, machine learning, and data science. The idea is to be able to extrapolate and predict possible scenarios based on historical data trends. Some key examples would be like in financial sectors where they look at your debit and credit transactions to predict if you're committing fraudulent behavior, or in a similar fashion, looking at your medical history to predict your likelihood for potential critical illnesses, or optimizing your marketing spend through A/B testing, where you push out content variants to the same group of users to test which has a higher response. Now, there are two ways you can go about doing this: externally through a consultancy firm who would do all the heavy lifting for you, or you could grow your own data scientist team internally, which increases your analytical complexity at a higher operating cost. Not every company needs to be here though. With the advancement of AI, everyone will get here eventually. But for most, the sweet spot lies in the previous stage because it takes time to build that data culture. Now, Tableau has done a great job through their blueprint program, which you should check it out if you need an overarching strategy to your business. What it entails is having that top-down executive stamp of approval, and it flows through to data efforts and technical implementation across the different areas of the business. But in a nutshell, there are three main pillars to achieve self-service analytics, and that is infrastructure, knowledge, and champions. The start of the journey of data, i.e., putting all your eggs in one basket, is essentially developing the infrastructure to support data needs for the business. You need to establish processes for data governance and lay down foundations for the rest of the business to be able to consume data, be it through a data visualization tool, or SQL, or Python scripts. But having data is only step one of self-service analytics, which brings me to my main topic for today, the 4Ds of self-service analytics. We've already established data as the first D. Over here, I have a business intelligence and analytics survey by Bark, one of Europe's leading analyst firms. As you can see, the top 10 functions rated as extremely relevant for building self-service analytics revolve around building that infrastructure. But what's interesting is that over the past few years, data-driven culture has become increasingly important as well. And they found that the main obstacle to implement that are mostly around data literacy, fluency, and influence within the organization. Going back to the Tableau blueprint and how organizations mature in the data efforts, the initial stage is about data. However, to move up the ladder, not that data is less important as we mature, but rather more importance should be placed in education and building community to implement that data-driven culture. So how do we do that? Let me introduce the next D, designing better. Ever heard I'm not a data person in your company? I know I did over the course of my career. And the key strategy to tackle that is to establish that data language so that everyone has the same understanding for business terms. Have that glossary present everywhere so that it's always in people's minds. The other spectrum is to build a library of visualization templates and guidelines. And finally, leverage your marketing team because chances are they would have some corporate typography and common branding assets that you can use to build familiarity and relevance to ease the change resistance. Ultimately, your data literacy is as good as the one that understands the least. The next D is delighting more. It is human nature to gravitate towards something that is easier and relatable, which is why the user experience is so important. It is the reason why Apple holds such a huge fan base, from the unboxing to the setting up of the phone to the daily interactions with it. The entire experience is catered for you, the user. And while we try to conform to the best practices as much as we can, we must remember that we are not the users. And your audience, which is anyone your data products is built for, should be the main driving force for your intended user experience. Little things that are intuitive that no one really calls out, like layouts and spacing between your charts, labels, formats, tooltips, and interactivity behavior. And something that I always tell my team is don't feel too attached to what you're building and always have the mindset of killing your babies because that's growth potential. And over time, we get better at anticipating what your audience needs and kill less of your babies. And the organization's data fluency increases tremendously. The last D is about diversification, and it's really about supporting your data champions. Passionate trailblazers that are intrinsically motivated can do wonders to grow your internal community if you create a nurturing environment for them. Just look at how big the data fam has grown over the years. It's a perfect example of growing community with community. You can also accelerate that growth by having a center of excellence team that is owned by either your analytics or BI team, because you also need accountability at the end of the day. And having your data champions across different departments sit in the council to help the rest of the organization, not unlike a task. You can also adopt some of the data fam community initiatives like Makeover Monday, Workout Wednesday, Back to This Basics, and of course games like this. These are very effective ways to reach out colleagues with different technical expertise. But this will also be an ongoing effort to grow the data culture within the organization. And there you have it, the 4Ds of self-service analytics. But you must be thinking, Louis, this all sounds great in the perfect scenario where everyone pitches in to help, but everyone is often too busy with their day-to-day and maintaining work-life balance. There is a way we could encourage participation by using a gamification framework that our industry uses a lot to quantify human behavior and improve engagement. Yu Kai Cho is one of the earliest pioneers in the industry of gamification, and he created the Fallacies framework that lays out the 8 core drives for human motivation. While the framework may look very complex, it all boils down to 8 fundamentals in driving behavior. I hope there are Star Wars fans here because that would make a lot more sense to you. But basically, there are 2 schools of gamification. One that deals with intrinsic motivation, which I call the light side. These are motivations that come from within individuals, such as believing in doing something greater than oneself, wanting to achieve goals, the reiterative creativity and feedback, as well as the sense of ownership and innate need to improve what you have owned. The other spectrum is the dark side, which deals with extrinsic or external motivations like your need to stay relevant in your social circle, your impulse to act upon time limited mechanics, uh, the gambling hook, and the fear of missing out. That's not to say that either one is good or bad, it just shows how humans are motivated to act. Gamification is also in our everyday life, like Starbucks rewards, social media, or even the popular Duolingo. They use the combination of gamification core drives to keep you engaged and motivated in a fun and meaningful way. And in the same context, the way we could encourage the adoption of data driven culture is to make people feel the same. So, how do we do that? Firstly, to design better visualization, you need templates and guidelines that is readily available to everyone in the organization. The more people understand, the more they will take ownership and help proliferate using the social influence within their peers. And a good way to get that done is using a top-down approach through a center of excellence. If you can get executive endorsement, that is even better because that will definitely cut down barriers to change in the downstream. You can work with data engineering or business intelligence team to establish a business glossary and democratize data streams so that there's always a single source of truth and remove any redundancy or ambiguity. You would also want to build processes for data projects that involve multiple departments, such as building a dashboard. Set project milestones and ensure that you implement a feedback loop so that people feel that their voices are heard, which again taps on intrinsic motivations. The key point of delight is to build a user experience that is bespoke to the ones that are using your data products. One essential piece for maintaining high levels of user experience is through wireframing or prototyping. You could use a tool like Figma, Adobe XD, or even Microsoft PowerPoint to build a mockup that you can use as an agile ideation tool before you start the actual work. That way, you can test adoption for new ideas and ensure a collaborative ownership moving forward. But this feedback loop doesn't end when the dashboard is productionized. In fact, it's only the first step. And as your customers, both internal and external, as well as market conditions change, the insights may also change, potentially rendering some of the visitors useless. So what I usually do is to maintain communication channels with my collaborators and check in with them every now and then to ensure and understand what works and what doesn't. That way, I can continue to improve the dashboard. I was fortunate enough to be scouted by the BI director after I completed my graduate program in data analytics and visualization, and he empowered me to lead his data visualization pillar. I was extremely motivated because I believe in the epic meaning of how data viz can enhance the data culture, and I took ownership and continued to hone my craft as well as set up standard framework and guidelines for others to follow. So you need to find those Jedi's within your organization and empower them because there's only so much extrinsic motivation you can drive. You need a group of data champions who believe in the cause as they'll be intrinsically motivated to drive user education, engagement, and adoption for better data literacy and fluency. Like what I've done in 2K with the Knights of the Pie Table, which is a funny name we kind of put together. Another way you could grow an internal data community is to establish a shared space. Could be Slack, could be Microsoft Teams, or any communication platforms you might use. That way, you can facilitate conversations within the team. This shared space can be expanded to a regular in-person, virtual, hybrid meetup to share knowledge, case studies, or even do hands-on Tableau workshops or Tableau doctor sessions. You want to be as inclusive as possible, spreading as wide in the organizations as you can, because this community would be your trailblazers in their respective pillars. You can also structure your training initiatives to leverage on community projects, like what I've tried to do. We have 5 different proficiency levels that starts from the very basics, like connecting to data sources, to the advanced level where we teach data densification and dashboard design. To attain each level, we encourage our peers to participate in relevant challenges in the community projects. This is about as gamified as you can get when it comes to training, and it's very similar to how we talked about Duolingo in the previous slide. Also, do make sure that no matter what you do, document it and keep all the resources in a centralized hub. We have ours in a Tableau dashboard so that the knowledge is always accessible to everyone. You can also promote friendly competition among your peers by gamifying badges, leaderboards, and even showcasing their work and these games as well. All in all, building a data culture takes time, and you need to constantly engage your community to gauge their responses and adapt your strategy accordingly. But by nurturing your internal community, they will be your trailblazers to drive the data culture for your organization. And to wrap things up, this is the too long don't read version of my presentation. Self-service analytics is not about just the data, but embracing the other Ds. Design better through guidelines and best practices, delight more with a user-focused approach, and find or GLIs and diversify your data community. Not forgetting to employ the 8 core drives of gamification to help motivate and influence engagement. Right. That's all I have for you folks. Hopefully that's not too much. You guys can remember. Okay, are there any questions? Let me see. So Michelle, over at 2K we use Figma primarily to build wireframes. Why we use Figma is because Figma is very powerful and it works very well with Tableau. So we can actually create kind of interactions within Figma, like drop down boxes and click through navigation through the different pages. So it creates a very, I would say, close to what the final product is, barring any design rules and stuff like that. The Mika Data Viz program is a master's program that is, I think back in COVID, it was a full online course, but I think now it's a hybrid. So Mika is a design school. So when I was looking for a graduate program, I wanted something that is more focused on design and not so much on the technical aspect, because a lot of the kind of the data viz programs out there are still very technical focused. So they focus a lot on how to use Tableau, how to create queries and stuff like that. But not a lot of them focus on like how people read information, how do you design better, how do you create personas, user personas to fit your business case and stuff like that. So I can share a link later on the program. So if you're interested, you can drop into that.
Luis, I have a question. I'm in process of setting up a program internally to engage and empower more Tableau users and help them grow on their path. So one of the things is I'm trying to get a internal user group so that we can do that. But altogether, if you have to sum it up, what are the key points you will look for? Because every organization will have certain mission and vision of their own, but altogether in general, what will be some of the points that we should incorporate for sure?
On building a data culture.
Yes.
So like over here, what we do is that we maintain a single source of truth, because like every department, they have their way of looking at the business. So like finance, have greater focus on sales. Marketing has more greater focus on like how many impressions people get and everything. And we do meet up with the different verticals regularly, just to make sure that we have all the metrics that they are interested in a centralized document. So this centralized document is housed within our hub, the BI hub itself, and it's shared with everyone. So whenever we or anyone within the different departments present something or database, we always ensure that they conform to the right definition, the right calculations, so that everyone don't get the wrong data. So for example, one very good example is something we call an ARPU, which is average revenue per user. So even for that, there is a lot of discourse when it comes to calculating just that measure. You could take like a selling revenue, which is what we sell to the retailers, divided by the number of users that we have. You could also get like the in-game monetization that we earn from the users and divided by the users. That is also kind of average revenue per user. And there's so many different ways. So what we did is that we sat down with all the departments and we said, okay, based on what we need to move the business forward, let's decide on the actual definition and calculation for this measure. So everyone moving forward from here would use that calculation method.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lewis, for answering my questions and all the other questions over here. And thank you for such a great session on how to create a whole culture and how to take all these points, the 4Ds. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. And now, let me see if we have. Okay. So now, I'm going to introduce Ansula Jain, also known as, or better known as Techie Anshi. So she has her YouTube channel, lots of subscribers, lots of followers, and she creates amazing content. She is a Tableau social ambassador and have a total of 10 plus years of experience working with data. She is a data visualization expert at Zoom and have built more than 500 client-facing dashboards to derive insights from data. As I said, she owns a YouTube channel and she posts some amazing content. We'll put the link in the chat box as well. You can go over there. Also, she co-leads Tableau Buddy Talks Talk with me, and she has been helping us all along to bring speakers and just have these amazing sessions. So that's all. I'll hand over to Ansula now.
Thanks, Prasan.
Okay.
Okay. I will have to allow screen share. Give
I think she got dropped off. So hold on, guys. If you have any question. So here's one of the question: how can I exclude duplicate addresses from displaying in the total count of records? I think Lisa already answered it. You can use count D. That should help if this is just to get the count and unique count of all the addresses. That will help. And then we have one more question. Working to migrated manual SQL generated Excel reports to self-service report by web authoring by user from published data. Can you please Best practices and challenges to come overcome. Okay, let's see if anybody can answer, or we'll take it at the end. In the meantime, I'll just share some links with you so that you can just go there and check out those content. Okay, so this is her YouTube channel. You can take a look. In the meantime, she's trying to join. She just had some hiccup with her browser. And also, you can join and register on one of the other Tableau user group that I lead, that is Tableau Buddy Talks, where we are going to have some sessions soon. So I don't leave any chance to promote the things I want to promote. Okay. Uh, Shimdi, I got a message that she's not getting in. Are we getting any messages?
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, now she's here.
Okay, there she is. Ish.
Yep.
Okay, she's
Guys,
welcome back.
my browser restarted, and I think that's how things happen. And I also got all my tabs closed, so you'll have to bear with me again. No worries, but yeah, let's get started, guys. Amazing, first of all, to be here. It's great to hear from such great speakers. Um, Let me just, before I even begin with this, right, because I heard Doc speaking about color blindness today. Now I'm worried if my presentation is going to match the standards and if my color palette is compatible with all the colorblind people. So yeah, let's see how this goes and what your feedbacks are as well further. But before I just want to give you a quick overview of what I'm going to cover today. It's going to be a very simple presentation about finding dashboard inspiration and where can you look for creativity. Uh, Prasan did a really great introduction for myself, so I'm not going to go over the same things again and again. But let me tell you a few quick facts about myself. I love pets, but I don't have any. It's been over 10 years for me working in this industry, and I have built almost so many different dashboards that I've never realized how important. A simple visualization could make a difference. So I started bringing back certain elements which I used to when I initially started. I build very minimal dashboards and make sure that my clients and stakeholders are able to understand and grab as much insights as they can. I currently work at Zoom, so it's very hard for me now to like use a Bevy or something else. It's been Zoom for me all over the time right now. So yeah, I'm very comfortable it's great to have so many subscribers on YouTube and the whole data fam supporting you so much. I just can't say that the picture on the left would do justice. I just love Tableau. I've been using it for 10 plus years now, and I'm one of the greatest fans that can ever be. Okay, that was about myself. Uh, so let's get into the topic, right? Now, why am I talking about this one specifically today? Because I believe that a good template can elevate your whole dashboard layout. I've built a lot of dashboards, as I said so far. After building dashboards for over so many years, now I've started focusing on only building templates. I no longer build dashboards, I build templates so that others can build dashboard over it. Dashboard is, as you know, development is a very continuous and an iterative process, and it usually requires you to be very much involved with your business stakeholders to understand what are they trying to drive and what business decisions are they trying to drive to the dashboard. As you know, a very simple and effective dashboard should be flexible, it should be adapting, and it should be catering to all the business needs and the objectives that your stakeholders have. And without the trust that you can have on the data and the trust between a creator, an explorer, and a viewer of the dashboard, it is very hard to make proper decisions out of a dashboard. Hence, having a great dashboard layout and a perfect template can make your life even simple, and a dashboard that can speak much more about the whole thing. Try to make a very simple and avoid complex kind of dashboards. I usually try to have a very clear story picture when I build my dashboards, and I try to drive meaning out of data. I try to put out insights. Try to put out, as Lewis also mentioned in his session, bring in some data literacy so that my users who might not be very familiar with data are also able to make meaning out of the dashboard. And finally, using the right charts plays the most important role, right? So as I said, I've built, as also Prasan mentioned, I've built around 500 plus dashboards till date, and they have been from different domains, different stakeholders, different organizations, and from multiple data domains. But now I've started focusing more on dashboard templates. I build dashboard templates, which my team then further builds dashboard on. So I've built more than 650 dashboard templates so far, and I continue to design templates. Now, creating a dashboard is very simple, but designing the layout and understanding what my user needs out of this is one of the major tasks that I feel can make or break your dashboard. And in order to build a good dashboard, you need to have some kind of inspiration. Unless and until you are inspired, I feel that I've read some books and I've also felt that you can always you see more stuff, right? Until and unless you're inspired from different designs that you see, different further, it's very difficult for anybody to build something or build something new or out of the box, right? So this is going to bring me to the most important question, and that is the reason why I'm building, why I'm sharing this topic today. That how can I or we get inspired to create a top-notch dashboard that not just answers your business questions, but also serves as a tool that your business a period of time. It's not something that they use once or they use twice just when they have a QBR or when they have to present some numbers, but that's something that they should use on a continuous, on a regular basis so that they can keep making data-driven decisions in their organization. So let's go and talk about where can you get inspired and from where can you find inspirations to build dashboard. Now, the most common and the most simple place where people go to find inspiration is to go and look for it on Google. So if you go and type looking for sales dashboard inspiration or sales dashboard template, or if you type anything like this on Google, Google is extremely powerful and it would give you some really great dashboard inspirations, right? It would give you some great layouts, it would give you some great dashboards that you can always access and get inspired from there. But there's so much more beyond Google. So we're going to talk about that. Now, as most of you are already, I'm sure most of you are already using Tableau and Tableau Public, and this is one of my favorite places to go when I'm looking for inspiration, and especially the business insights part of the Tableau Public is one of the best part about Tableau Public that I find is that you can not just see a dashboard, but you can also further download a dashboard and can see how the charts are built, right? So if you like a violin chart, or if you like a Sankey chart, or if you like, some elements of a particular person who's built a great dashboard template, all that you could do is you could download that dashboard from Tableau Public to your system, use a Tableau developer. You can also replace the data source, or like just build over the same layout. It's so much hands on if you use a Tableau Public over here to build a dashboard. Now, as you all know, there's a great trending session. There's a Viz of the day as well on Tableau Public. There's a very inspiring. I love the categorization wise Vizes that have been bifurcated on the Tableau Public. So if you are looking specifically for a specific like business dashboards or something like that, you could go into that particular section. If you're looking for games related dashboard, you could go to that section and find the dashboards. And you can also look for specific authors. So for example, if you like a specific author, for me Pradeep G is one of the authors that I really find making great dashboards. So I would look for the author on Tableau Public and then go ahead and look for the visualizations that he or she has created. So all in all, Tableau Public is also one of the great places apart from just looking for a great template on Google. Let's move on. Let's talk about Pinterest. Now, I know this is something most people in our industry might not be using, but I find this really interesting. Pinterest has some of the best looking and great infographical dashboards. It has a plethora of options. It also shows you like great color palettes, some of the you could see some of the industry specific dashboards as well on Pinterest. If you're looking for say for example a recruitment related or an HR related dashboard, just go ahead, search for it on Pinterest. I know a lot of people use Pinterest for different reasons, but coding purposes and design ideas, and it has really worked wonders for me. So the designs are very minimal, as I said, and it also has some really interesting infographical icons and stuff that you can also download from Pinterest. So if you're looking for getting inspired, you can also go ahead and look for things on Pinterest. Okay, I'll talk about the next one, which is one of my most go-to place for my work, and the also built in the same tool, which is Canva. Canva is one of the most powerful UI tool that is available in the market right now. This is completely free for students, and for some organizations as well, they offer Canva for free. So for me as well, I have Canva for free from my organization, and it's very easy for me to use this as well. I use Canva a lot for also my YouTube. Design most of my layouts using Canva. It's extremely professional and has some really great elements like icons. It has some great templates that you can reuse and all of that. I would have loved to showed a demo about how you can use Canva for designing your wireframes, but let's see towards the end of the session if anybody wants me to cover that. I can do that as well. Moving on from Canva, we'll talk about Dribble. Now, Dribble is something very similar to Pinterest, but Dribble is more focused on a UI-based platform, right? Most of the UI UX developers that I know who design web browsers and web pages, they really use. They have some of the great infographical images. They have some good GIFs as well that you can include on your dashboards if you want. And then they have some really great web UI based dashboard layouts. So if you are building a web UI based dashboard where you want like a home page, you want a navigation pane and all of that, some of the great inspirations can also come from Dribble. This is something that a lot of web, as I mentioned, this is something that a lot of web designers use. So you can also look at what the people who are designing the UI UX are doing. So that can also like help you know about what's happening new in the market and can really of other people in your own professional career. So that's about Dribble. Now, one of my other favorite and something that I almost use on a daily basis, which is Figma. Figma, as you guys know, is one of the most widely used tool to design templates and also to design UIs. A lot of organizations use Figma to design their web portals, their UIs, their apps, and everything else. This is a highly recommended tool if you want to learn dashboard, like if you want to learn dashboard templating, then this is one of the tool that I would highly recommend everyone to definitely try once in their lifetime. It's extremely easy. It's as good as using a PowerPoint. It's simple drag and drop, and it's very customizable. It's editable, as I said. It allows you to there are a lot of pre-created templates that you can reuse in Figma. So there's something that's already created. All that you need to do is duplicate it and then just work upon it. So it's very easy. It's a simple drag and drop feature. Anybody and everybody can use a Figma template and edit and create your own web UI or your own dashboard template using Figma. It's extremely simple. It also has a very large community, like community, so it's very easy to like connect with designers and see their designs and like help contribute to the community as well. It's extremely easy and approachable community that also helps you to know what's happening in this world. And also finally, it's a very collaborative tool. So if you want to build a template in Figma, it has a web UI portal. Anybody can in your team can also collaborate with you while you're working on a particular template. If you've left it at a certain point, somebody else and they can just begin from the same place. So it's extremely collaborative, editable, and also has a great community. So Figma is definitely one of my top suggested tools if you're looking for inspiration. The external, so there's a section in Figma where you can look for inspiration. If you go ahead and just search for dashboard templates, it would give you icons, it would give you like great templates, it would give you color palettes, it would give you like all kinds of different small elements that you would need on your dashboard, and that's something you can easily use and customize using Figma. Apart from the ones that I mentioned, there are so many more tools. I don't use many of these mentioned over here, but they're definitely as powerful as the other ones that I mentioned. So definitely worth a mention. Adobe XD, a lot of people I know in the industry, they use Adobe XD instead of using Grafana. There is Google Data Studio, Datapad, Metabase, and definitely Microsoft PowerPoint. It is extremely easy to use. If you don't want to buy any of these tools, you don't want to spend any money, definitely you can use Microsoft PowerPoint. With that, I'll come to the end of my presentation. You can always connect with me. I'm available as Techie Anshi. I also, as mentioned, I have a YouTube channel, so you can subscribe to my channel. It would be lovely to have you as my audience, and it would really inspire me to create great content. I'll hand it back.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Ansula, for the talk. It's been awesome. And so, guys, just remember, if you got any quick questions, you can throw them in the Q&A. We have a little bit of time today, so if you got some questions, we can get them answered. or you can alternatively reach out to Ansula and all the other speakers privately as well if we don't have any additional questions for right now. Okay, so it's been let me see, any questions coming in? I don't think so. Okay, so I guess there is one. I don't know. Okay, no, this is a perfect. Okay, so I guess we'll just get to the closing today. Thanks everyone for joining in. Learned a lot today, and we'll have this video recorded on YouTube, and also we'll be able to grab some of the resources from today's talk as well for you. So just look out for that. And if you have any ideas that you wanted to present to the group, you can definitely just go here and register, and we'll be sure to reach out to you with some to grab details, and we will happily bring you on here to speak for us. And I believe this is an old announcement we were supposed to share, but I guess you can definitely still go and do this. If you want to be able to give feedback on Tableau and upcoming products and features and things like that, you can definitely register on these two links where you can give feedback, and then on the other one you get to partake in part of the research by getting maybe your hands on some of the features early ahead of time and things like that. Our next meeting is in a month from now, July 27th. We'll see you in the morning at 9 a.m. PST or 9:30 p.m. IST. And you can go ahead and register so you don't miss out the next session at our group over here. And we'll be sure to send out all the announcements and everything you need to know to prepare for the next one. And with that, we will say goodbye and good evening. And so everyone take care of yourself, and we'll see you next month for the next one. All right, take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop the recording as well. Okay.